NBA front offices and fan bases are suffering from a terrible malady. And that malady is optimism fever. Oh, optimism fever. I've seen it pop up online a few times. I wouldn't trade Scotty Barnes for Kevin Durant. Jaylen Brown for Kevin Durant. Jaylen Brown's only going to get better. We were just in the finals. No. You're suffering, just like that cough, from optimism fever. Here is the truth. I went back, Nick, and looked at your top 50 players of the last 50 years. And I just focused on the top 15. So there, for the sake of the suspense, we couldn't use this graphic because you're still unveiling them on YouTube and the podcast.
But
so then we just.
But we can say who the top 5 are. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so don't worry, my friend. I got it. I got another graphic made. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
So here are the top 50. In the last 40 years, if you want to win a championship, you basically need to have one of these guys on your team. In the last 40 years, there have only been 4 teams, so make sure I have this right, 4 teams that have won the championship without one of these guys. An all-time great, a legendary top 15 players. The Chauncey's Pistons, the Celtics with KG, which by the way, he's number 22nd on your list. The Mavs with Dirk, who is 16 on your list. And the Raptors with Kawhi. So the idea that teams won't trade for Kevin Durant because they think they're close to winning a championship. They think if the ball bounces another way, here or there, we could be there. It's not true. At best, it's going to play out exactly how we saw Warriors-Celtics play out, where you have one team with a kind of superstar, should probably be out of club superstar, and another star and a solid team and a solid defense and a good coach. And the other team has an all-time great player. And that team wins. So if you're close to winning the championship, man, make the move for Kevin Durant. Because you are further away from a championship than you think if you're holding on to star players and not going after legendary players, Nick. Make the move.
Well, go ahead.
Wildes, I don't disagree with your premise. It's right. But first of all, anyone who wouldn't trade Jaylen Brown for Kevin Durant needs their head examined. Seriously.
Get on those Celtics message boards.
And Scotty Barnes for Kevin Durant, it's not just Scotty Barnes. It would have to be Scotty Barnes and Pascal Siakam, or Scotty Barnes and OG Anunoby plus Fred VanVleet. Like, here's what's happening, Wildes.
Okay,
a contending team can't break the bank for Kevin Durant because you got to give up your core. So if Phoenix, for instance, gives up Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, who they don't even want, they're left with Kevin Durant and an old Chris Paul. Is that team winning the championship? No. All right, if Miami gives up Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler, neither of those guys is close to Kevin Durant. That's really kind of a fair trade on paper. They're not a contender if you got KD and old Kyle Lowry and Tyler Hero. And then you go to, so that takes care of the contenders. Then the young teams. The young teams that are bad teams, I should say. Like a Sacramento. We joked, they could send him wherever they want. They could send him to Sacramento. Well, Sacramento knows, you know what? If we gave up, say, De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis for Kevin Durant, and then a year from now, Kevin Durant obviously isn't going to be happy in Sacramento.
Yeah.
He would want a trade. In fact, I don't even know if he'd wait a year. He might just to be polite and nice, but he'd want out of there immediately. So that takes care of a lot of contenders and a lot of bad teams. And then here's the final thing, Nick. Durant is 34 years old in September, he'll be. He is entering his 15th year. He played 90 games over the last 3 years. 90 games. We get on Kyrie. Kyrie played more than Kevin Durant did. And here's the kicker. We've seen Kevin Durant in the NBA for 11 years without Golden State. 10 of those years he played with another superstar. Hasn't won a championship. So why at Kevin Durant, now he's going to do something at 34 that he hasn't done in 11 years when he was younger? So I think those are all the factors that are weighing into teams not breaking the bank for Kevin Durant.
And it's why I think, and then I've got a list for that I want to show you guys, but I want to address what you said first. It's why I think the Suns and the Pelicans are the two teams in that Goldilocks zone. Because I don't think the Suns would be trading Booker. I think they'd be trading Bridges, Ayton, and every pick they possibly can, and swaps in the other years.
Not
and
enough.
do I think for a short period of time? Oh, well, you say it's not enough, but that's going to be, we're going to get to that point. Well, we don't know if that's enough or not because we don't know what other offers they have. And they obviously, they can't trade for Booker anyway, they meaning the Nets, as long as Ben Simmons is there.
Right.
I think the Pelicans trade that I've talked about, where you would keep Zion, keep CJ, and get an all-star in Brandon Ingram plus $1 billion picks, might be the best they can do. But I want to correct one misnomer out there. Folks keep saying that Kevin Durant is the most valuable trade asset in NBA history. Like he will be the best player ever traded. But it's just not true because of his age and his injury history. Modern NBA history. What they're talking about is that they will get the biggest haul that anyone's ever gotten for a player in modern NBA history. Anthony Davis at 26 years old, when he was guaranteed to sign a long-term contract, was flatly a more valuable trade asset than Kevin Durant is right now. And Anthony Davis, what'd you get? Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, the number 4 pick, 2 more first-round picks, and a pick swap. I would argue the Paul George trade, that was more valuable than Kevin Durant, only because you weren't trading for Paul George. You were trading for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And they got Gallo, SGA, 5 first-round picks, and 2 swaps. The trade that I think is of about equivalent value is when the Nets traded for Harden. And that's about what the Nets should be looking to get back. The Nets gave away for Harden, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, 4 firsts and 4 swaps. When you hear that the Nets want all-star players and half a dozen picks, that's not going to happen for a 34-year-old Kevin Durant. That would be the package for Giannis. It would not be the package for a 34-year-old Kevin Durant. So I think right now the Nets have to recognize that. I also think they have to recognize this. And Brew, I want your take on this. I know the NBA trade rules, it's hard to do one-for-one trades. Ignore contracts for a moment. Ignore salaries. There are 10 guys in the league that I would not give up straight up for Kevin Durant. Here are the 10. The 10 guys I would not trade you straight up for Kevin Durant. The top 5 are obvious. Okay, why is it an insane list? Tell me why. Now, keep in mind, I don't have Scotty Barnes on there. I would trade Scotty Barnes, even though he's 21 years old. Evan Mobley, listen, if people are going to take issue with Evan Mobley, let me say this on the front end, I am incredibly high on Evan Mobley. I think he has Kevin Garnett potential. He's 21 years old. I'd rather us not just argue about Evan Mobley. If you guys want to make it a 9-person list, so be it. But I would not trade Anthony Edwards straight up for KD. I would not trade Zion Williamson straight up for KD. I would not trade Jason Tatum, Ja Morant, or those top 5 guys straight up for Kevin Durant. And I don't think those teams would either, Wildes.
Okay. I would trade Zion straight up for Kevin Durant because of the injury issues. Now, if Zion didn't have injury concerns, I'm with you. But because of the injury, I don't know what I'm going to get from Zion Williamson. So I would definitely do that and feel like with CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram, I got a chance to win the championship. All right. Anthony Edwards, I love, as I love Zion. But Nick, this is going to shock you. Now that they've traded for Rudy Gobert, so they have Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, and Kevin Durant. That's a guaranteed championship, but that's a team that can compete, has a good chance to win a championship. I would go for it. You may never get a chance like that ever in Minnesota. And here's the other thing, Nick. Anthony Edwards looks like a budding superstar, has tremendous charisma and personality. He stole the show in the movie Hustle that just came out. Who's to say, and I hate to put this out there, but who's to say in 5 or 6 years, he's not going to leave Minnesota? I mean, he may be bigger. They were like, I'm bigger than Minnesota. We're already talking about Donovan Mitchell needs to get out of Utah. Anthony Davis spent 7 years in New Orleans. And so that's my thing. Anthony Edwards might want a jet. I think I could win a championship if I'm Minnesota with KD.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.